everyone, my name is Shelby. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my January mid-month wrap-up. So these are going to be all the books that I read in the first half of January. So it is ungodly cold right now. I think it's like 10 degrees. I live in southern Missouri, which honestly, like, we get temperatures like that around here, but not that often. And I just, it's so freaking cold outside today. It's terrible. And then I decided today I was going to film this. It was going to be my filming day because my hair is all nice. I have makeup done as I got maternity pictures done today. And I was like, I'm going to take advantage of this and film my videos today. And I should try to probably try to film some more videos today, but I don't think that's gonna happen because I'm also really hungry. So sorry if this video is super jumbled, which I hope it's not. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Part of it is pregnancy brain, but then part of it is because I have had a very stressful week at work with two of my coworkers having to be out, one for illness and one for a injury. So we've been like crazy. Like, we were already short-staffed, and this week it's been even worse. So, and I've been working overtime and working extra days, and it's just not been fun, like, at all. And I feel like my brain is like fried. So if I don't remember everything for these books that I'm about to talk about, I apologize. It's been a week. So anyway, I read 12 books for the first half of January, and I have a feeling that my number is gonna drop for the second half of January since I'm filming in this first part. And I think I've only read like one book this week because it's just been, you know, how it's been. So anyway, so we're going to talk about the books that I read. Oh, and actually some of these I have physical copies, but I'm probably just going to put a picture up because I don't feel like getting back up and finding them. So the first book that I read for the first book of the year that I read is going to be Never Seduce a Scot. This is part of the Montgomerys and Armstrongs series by Maya Banks. This is a historical romance and a Highlander romance, which I don't think I've actually read a Highlander romance before this, unless you count Outlander, which I've read like the first one of it like a long time ago. Anyway, so this book is about two opposing clans. They are rivals. They don't get along, the Montgomerys and the Armstrongs. And the king is kind of fed up with these two clans, and he wants them to have peace. And he's like declared, you are going to get along. And to help seal that declaration, I guess, to help keep the peace, if you will, he wants a person from one clan and a person from the other clan to get married. So we have Graham, who is actually the laird of the Montgomery clan, and he is going to get married to the laird's daughter of the other clan. So this has that like arranged marriage kind of trope. I loved this book. I gave this 4.5 stars because the girl that he's getting married to, Evelyn, she is mute, but nobody knows why. She actually had like an accident at one point in her life that caused her to become deaf, and something else was going on. And she decided that to also be mute to kind of protect herself from some of the other things that were going on in her life. But so as soon as like the two of them meet, he is immediately attracted to her, And she also has this immediate attraction to him because even though she's deaf, he has such a like deep voice that somehow she is able to like almost kind of like hear the vibrations of how deep his voice is. And so she's immediately fascinated by him. And this was just so sweet because he's such a cinnamon roll and he's so cute and like good to her. And he's able to like, it almost has a little bit of what do I want to call it, like a language barrier somewhat, because he has to try to figure out how to communicate with her, because I think he figures out pretty early on that she can't hear anything, and that's why what's been going on, not that she can't talk, because she can. So they have to work through those kind of things to be able to communicate with each other. And he's just like so protective of her, and it's just so cute. So like I said, I gave this 4.5 stars. And yes, I'm also going to be trying to rate and give you my Steam rating for these. So this one I would probably call about like a medium to high Steam, somewhere around there. It was really good. Then I decided to read Vow of Deception, which is the first book in the Deception trilogy by Rina. I picked this one up because Rina is one of the authors that I've been seeing, and I wanted to try her out because I haven't read anything by her before. And this, I read the whole series, so the rest of the books in the series are going to be coming up. This was just bonkers. And I don't really know what to say about it. So this is about this guy, Adrian, and he decides to pick up this homeless woman because she looks exactly like his wife, and that I think has passed away. I can't remember if they've said it, if they actually said that she passed away or if she's just kind of gone. But he wants her to pretend to be his wife because he is in the Bratva, so this is a mafia romance, to kind of like keep up appearances, and then also to help with his son. Like he wants her to like pretend to be his mother so that he doesn't think, you know, that his mother is gone, kind of thing. I didn't know what to think about this one. I gave this one 4 stars, which honestly is the highest that I've rated, I think, the rest of the books. Yes, this is the highest rating that I rated for the books in this trilogy. This was just, I was very intrigued, and it was very mysterious because the main character isn't necessarily a reliable narrator, because she also has some like sketchy things like memory issues. She has these like dreams of things that have happened that she shouldn't know about. So it's just like I don't know. Yes, so that was that book. It is, it does have some trigger warnings in it, so it is a mafia, so it is a little bit darker. Trigger warnings for like past trauma, kind of reasons why she is a homeless person. She lost a child, and then for him, like death of a spouse kind of thing going on. And I would call this a high steam book. Moving on. Then I read Highlander Most Wanted, which is the second book of the Montgomerys and Armstrong series by Maya Banks. And this one is about Graham, the Laird. It's about his brother. So at the end of the first book, Evelyn gets kind of taken by these people, those not so nice people. So Bowen, who is Graham's brother, and a party of people are going to this other laird's keep to confront him, kind of, but also kind of to like start a war with him because of what he did to Evelyn. And in the meantime, he finds out that this other laird has just been keeping this woman against her will at this place. And her name is... I didn't write her name down, so I don't know what it is. But it has just been taken by him and has been raped by him and abused by this guy. And so they kind of start to form romance because he, she doesn't really trust men especially. And he is like, okay, I will help take you to like a safe place where, you can feel safe or whatever. I give this 4 stars. I did enjoy this a lot. I did not like it as much as the first one. The first one was just amazing. I really loved it. Not that this is bad because it was 4 stars. It was still really, really good. I just feel like I didn't have as much of a connection to the 2 characters as I did in the first one. So this does have a lot more trigger warnings in it than the first book does. Trigger warnings for like past trauma for the heroine, and like I said, she was abused and then she was also raped, so it does have those. But again, like the first one, I would probably call this like a medium to high steam kind of book. Then I read Devastate, which is the 4th book in the Deliver series. So all the rest, like all the books in this series are about they call themselves the freedom fighters. So it's basically all of the captives of Liv and Van from the first 2 books in the series. And they have like escaped kind of. And they found this vigilante group to try to take down sex traffickers. So, like I said, this is the 4th book. This is Tate's book. Tate is one of the captives of Liv and Van. And he has been in love with Camilla, who was the heroine from the 3rd book. But of course, she had her AGA in the 3rd book with somebody that was not Tate. But like I said, Tate has been in love with her. So he decides to help Camilla out because Camilla's sister has been missing like the entire time, that from like when she was a captive, and now it's been several years later since Camilla has been a captive, and her sister has been missing this entire time. So Tate decides that he's going to help Camilla out and try to find her sister Lucia. So this becomes a romance between Tate and Lucia, because he does end up finding her and finds out that that Lucia has been working for this I think he's like a cartel boss somewhere in South America, but she's basically been working for this guy. And he doesn't know quite if it is willingly or unwillingly, and he's trying to find that out and trying to get her out of there so that she can meet up with Camilla again. I give this 4 stars. I really love the books in this series. I love Pam Godwin. There's many, many trigger warnings, basically for all the books in this series. This one for like past abuse, trauma, rape, because Tate was a captive and was raped by Van. There is some moments in this book. There are some torture that takes place from the guy that Lucia is kind of working for, because like I said, he's a cartel boss and he's not a nice man. He kind of forces them all into some situations, and he, like I said, it's can be hard to get through, and I don't think this is the series for everybody to read, but it was really good and I really liked it. And this is also a high steam kind of book. So then we have Tempted by Deception, which is the 2nd book of the Deception trilogy by Rina. So some things are kind of happening. Like I said, the first book is very mysterious. You don't know what's going on. And so this one, you kind of find out, sort of, that maybe all of the things that were going on in the first book, that the things that the heroine thought, aren't actually true. So this one actually goes back to the beginning of how Adrian and his wife Liv, I think it's Liv, no, Leah, I think it's Leah, Leah is her name. Adrian met Leah, his wife, and how their relationship developed, leading up to the events right before the start of the first book. So this second one, I gave 3 stars. I did not like this one as much as I liked the first one. The first one really pulled me in and I was very intrigued by it. This one just kind of felt like it was, in certain scenarios, it just kind of felt like it was repeating itself from the first one. So I was kind of getting a little bit bored with this one, which is kind of why I ended up giving it 3 stars. But again, this also had high Steam rating. Then we have Take, which is book number 5 in the Deliver series by Pam Godwin. So this one, so the fourth one, Tate and Lucia got together. This one is about Tiago, who is the bad guy from Tate and Lucia's book. He is the cartel boss that tortured Tate in the fourth one. This is his book. So he decides that he is going to kind of take redemption against Lucia leaving and Tate kind of leaving, whatnot, by taking Kate, who was the last captive of Liv and Van. Like, she's the most recent addition to the Freedom Fighters group. And he decides to kidnap her because he's ticked off about Lucia and Tate getting away. So yeah, so this ends up becoming a romance between Tiago and Kate. And I gave this one 4.5 stars. I don't know what it is about these books and Pam Godwin's writing, but like, I just for some reason really love where she turns the villain of the story into kind of a hero, sort of, but becoming like the love interest and having some more like redeeming qualities, because you learn a little bit more background from him. And I just loved it. And I loved how Kate was able to match up to him and not take his crap. And she like stood up for herself, and he thought that was also like very sexy. And I loved it. There's a lot of stuff going on in this book. So, definitely trigger warnings for past abuse, past trauma. There is a current assault and there is a non-consensual sex scene. But this also has some like blood play and knife play in it because he likes to cut up people. And they start a thing with that. Oh, there's also a golden shower scene that I was kind of on, but you know, it was very, very brief. So I was, that was fine. And then this was definitely high steam. All right, so then we have Consumed by Deception, which is the 3rd and final book of the Deception trilogy by Rina. So this one picks up, this is basically the conclusion of the love story between Adrian and his wife. This takes place, this picks up after the end events of the first book. So this whole series, it jumps around a timeline like a lot. So Leah and his wife kind of get some of her memories back, and remember, she's not dead, and they are basically trying to work on their relationship and make it better, basically. But again, I gave this, again, 3 stars, because again, I was just kind of bored with it. I was really just kind of over these 2 characters, and that's kind of why it got the 3 stars. It wasn't bad, I was kind of done with it. This also gets a high Steam rating, if you're wondering. Okay, then we have Manipulate, which is book number 6 in the Deliver series, and this actually features a menage story. So this is about Ricky and Martin, who are 2 other captives, members of the freedom fighters, and they are going undercover at a prison in South America or Mexico, one of those. That's a very, very not great prison, and they're going undercover there because this really, really bad cartel boss is imprisoned there, but he is still able to run his cartel business from inside the prison. And so they're going there and one of the things that he does is sex trafficking. So they're going there undercover to try to stop this cartel boss. But it's also about our female heroine of the story, Tula, and she is also at this prison and is kind of like really close to the cartel boss. So Tula is at the prison because wrongly, like, she was accused of crime that she did not commit, and she was sent there against her will, and she basically has no way of getting out. Like, she doesn't want, and they're like, you could totally get out if you pled guilty, and then we could send you to America and you would get a shorter sentence. But she's like, but I'm not guilty. Like, I don't want that on my record that I was guilty for a crime that I didn't commit, because she's a teacher. So then, like, she's like, well, I would never be able to get a teaching job again. Like, that's just not okay. So she is there, and like I said, she kind of has sort of befriended the cartel boss, mostly just because he helps to kind of keep her safe. But then he also doesn't necessarily keep her in the loop of all of his like dirty business. And so she like teaches him English and just does all these other things for him, and just to kind of like help herself keep her safe, because otherwise she would probably not make it through the prison. So anyway, so we have Ricky and Martin, and then we have Tula, and they're kind of opposing sides there. Ricky and Martin figure out that the best way to try to take down the cartel boss is through Tula, but then Tula is also tasked by this cartel boss to kind of seduce Ricky and Martin and try to figure out why they are there, to figure out if they are part of a rival cartel, or and then to also see if she can bring them on board with his cartel. So then in doing so, they all three form a relationship together, because both Ricky and Martin are bisexual, and I think Ricky like definitely has a thing for Martin, but he thought Martin was kind of homophobic, because he was kind of just like brushes him away. Like, they're still like best friends and good friends, but Martin doesn't want to like get involved in any kind of topic where it involves like 2 men being together. He just gets mad and angry. but you kind of find out it's more because he doesn't want to have sexual relationships because of his past trauma of sexual abuse. And then he always gets mad about Ricky talking about being with other people because he doesn't want Ricky to be with other people. He wants to be with Ricky. So there's a bunch of drama with that. But then they both really have a thing for Tula. So yeah, so they start a menage relationship. I give this 4 stars. I really enjoyed this one. This did have a scene that was kind of hard for me to read, where there is rape in this book, and there is there's a couple scenes actually. There is rape in this book, there is torture and abuse in this book. There's a scene where Tula is being taken in to custody, and some of the things that they do to her is just. And then there is also trigger warnings for pedophilia and necrophilia. It is very, very brief, but I do want to warn you, just in case you want to pick this one up. And like I said, it was kind of hard for me to read, but I did get through it. Probably because Pam Godwin kept it really brief. But this was also very high steam because, I mean, there's 3 people having sex together. So, and I actually am going to hold up the physical copy of this book because I literally have it right next to me. And that's going to be A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. I finally read this book because it's been out for like over a year now, I think. So this is the 4th book of the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. So the original trilogy is about Feyre and Rysand, and that's their relationship. It's Feyre. So their kind of story for the most part is kind of wrapped up. So this is about Nesta, who's Feyre's sister, and Cassian, who is Rysand's it's not his second, but it's one of his best friends and high ranking. I'm so glad that I finally got to this book. It was so good. This is a 5-star read for me. I loved every second of this, and I was worried. I was just slightly worried that I wasn't gonna like it because I was not a fan of Nesta in the original trilogy. I have a hard time connecting to her, and even some parts of this book I have a hard time connecting to her. Nesta is just somebody who is just full of so much anger for the world, for things that have been done to her, and she is kind of very nasty about it. So this is very much a story of healing for Nesta. So this is her working through her trauma from the events that took place at the end of the 3rd book. So they were fighting like this bad guy. Their dad ended up passing away, and just a lot of other things were kind of forced on Nesta, and she's trying to deal with those things in this one. And she hasn't been dealing with those well. She avoids everybody. She gets drunk. She sleeps with strangers. Like I said, she's very nasty to people, mostly because she thinks badly of herself, and she wants to push people away. She doesn't think that, like, her family, like, she doesn't think she's worthy to be around those people. But Cassian is completely infatuated with Nesta. And so they decide, all of her friends and family, although she doesn't call them friends and family because, you know, decide that she needs to stop what she's doing. And they decide that Cassian is going to take her away. They're going to this like castle place, sort of, that, you know, Rhysand and Feyre don't really use all that often, and they're just going to be secluded, and Nesta is going to train with Cassian because he's like a warrior and he trains people. And then she is also going to work in this library that they have. And all the women in this library are priestesses or apostles or something. I can't remember what they're called. But they all have some past trauma. But Rhysand has this, they can work at this library. It's kind of like a sanctuary for them to feel safe from the world. So she's tasked with working with them. And like I said, this is very much a story of healing for Nesta. And I absolutely loved it. I loved seeing Nesta's journey from being just this angry, like bitter, like she can't let go of what's happened. She can't move on. She's just absolutely miserable and she wants to make everybody else miserable, to like just the process of grieving those things and accepting what has happened and moving on and becoming a stronger person. And I absolutely loved the journey, and it was so good. And I loved seeing Nesta and Cassian's relationship grow as well. This is very much, I don't know what genre this is supposed to be. I'm pretty sure like the first 3 books, like they're supposed to be young adult. I don't know. I would definitely call this more at least new adult, if not adult. The steam was definitely very high in this book. Cassian and Nesta like basically like could not keep their hands off each other. They both were very sexually attracted to each other, and by the time they finally just decide to give in, like, oh my goodness, they have lots and lots and lots of sexy times, which I was here for. I very much enjoyed it. But honestly, like my favorite part, like I said, was just her journey. And then she also starts to make friendships with some people like in the church and then in this other village, or not the church, the library, and then this other village. And I just thought that was just so beautiful, and I just loved their friendships. And it was wonderful. I absolutely love this book so much. And I can't wait for the next one in the series to come out, whenever that happens. I'm excited to see what's going to happen. Then I read Lola and the Millionaires, Part 1. This is the second book in the Sweet Omegaverse series. This is by Kathryn Moon. I know there's another author that writes in this series. This is about Lola, who is best friends with Baby. Baby is the heroine of the first book of this series. And so Lola is a beta. And this is also kind of similar to Nesta's story. Kind of. This is about Lola working through some past trauma. So Lola, before, like I said, she's a beta. And she just always wanted to be an Omega because of the attention that Omegas get from alphas. She wanted to be with an alpha. She wanted to be pampered like an Omega, but she ended up getting in with these very not good alphas who mistreated her. They definitely abused her. And so she got out of that situation, and now she's kind of dealing with that trauma. She ends up getting, like, I think her cousin helps her get a new job, and it's like a dream job for her because she's really into fashion. So she gets this job at a fashion magazine, and she is very scared to be around other alphas because, you know, she's worried what they might do to her. And she meets this another beta at a club just because she misses being around people, and they have like this immediate attraction towards each other, but she doesn't want to start a relationship with him because she can sense that he's bonded to an alpha, and while they are kind of having some hanky kind of scenes, she spots his bite from an alpha and knows that he's bonded. So that scares her off because she's like, oh, well, I don't know if you're being controlled by this alpha or not. So she runs away from that situation. But then she ends up finding him again. And she kind of starts to form a little bit of a relationship with the alphas that she works for. So she has an alpha as her like immediate boss, and then there's an alpha that is like the owner of the magazine, and they actually are a part of a pack together along with that beta that she met. And she starts to form kind of a relationship with them, but it's definitely very slow going because, like I said, she's very skittish and scared, which I think is completely reasonable. I totally understand that. But it also, like I said, it's kind of similar to Nessa's story, where it's about a kind of a healing process for her, so that she can start to kind of become a little bit more comfortable around alphas, and she just becomes more and more interested in this pack. And then meanwhile, there's also her past abusers are still kind of like tormenting her from afar, but it still scares her. I gave this 4.5 stars. I loved this book so much, especially because the alphas of this book, I think this definitely shows, similar to with Baby, that even though a character is an alpha, it doesn't mean they have to be aggressive or like my way or the highway kind of character. I would say pretty much all of the characters in this pack, especially all the alphas of this pack, are such cinnamon rolls. They are very, very, very sweet to Lola. They are very patient with her, and they want to do anything they can to make Lola feel welcome, and especially make her feel safe around them. So I love this. This is definitely very high steam, and it was so good. Then we have Unshackle, which is book 7 of the Deliver series by Pam Godwin. So this is about another freedom fighter. We have Luke this time, and he is going undercover at another cartel place that deals in sex trafficking, of course. And he goes undercover as a buyer at this place. And he is there, one, to again take them down and destroy them, but then to also find and help find Tula's sister. So Tula from book 6? Yes, from book 6. Her sister has been missing. Another sister that's missing. Her name is Vera. So he is there to find Vera to figure out what has happened to her. And this ends up being a relationship between Luke and Vera, because he does find her and finds out that she's been a captive there for a while. I gave this 3.5 stars. I didn't care for this as much. I just feel like I wasn't as invested in these characters. I just kind of didn't really care for Luke and Vera all that much. They were fine. Again, this has lots of trigger warnings to it. There's non-consensual sex, dubious consent, rape, torture. There is a graphic torture scene, and again, it was another one that was very hard for me to get through, and it was very, very brief, and I think that's the only way I was able to get through it. So just know that going in, that there is some pretty bad torture. And again, this is high steam, but I don't know. I don't really have too many feelings on it. I was just kind of meh. And then the last book that I read for the first half of January is going to be Lola and the Millionaires Part 2, which is the conclusion of Lola's story. It's still just, again, her healing and her development with the pack, and her dealing with her past abusers. So they are trying to take down and find her past abusers so that they stop tormenting her. This also helps with like Lola as a beta has very low self-worth for herself, because like I said, with the other books, she really wants to be an omega, and she feels like betas are worthless, basically, that only omegas and alphas are like, you know, worth anything, which is simply not true. And I'm really glad that Kathryn Moon kind of wrote a story somewhat like this to kind of show that betas have just as much worth as alphas and omegas in this kind of universe. Mostly because like the pack that she is developing a relationship with, like they formed a pack. They're mostly more of a pack of like friends, kind of. There is an omega who is bonded to 2 of the alphas in the group, and then one of the alphas that is bonded to that omega is also bonded to the beta. So there's like those 4 that are kind of in a bond kind of thing, but then there's also 2 other alphas of the group who are not bonded, but they are all still a part of this pack. And then they also, like in the first one, they pretty much all have outside relationships outside of the pack. So when Lola comes in, she actually starts to form relationships with all of the members of this pack. All of the members are male, and they are all attracted to her. So she's actually able to she's almost like the glue for this group. She brings everybody together, and they start to become not just like the group here and then there's some other people, and sometimes they get together, but they just aren't really like a full-fledged pack. She brings them together so that they can become almost like a family, and they become a better pack and better with each other. And it's beautiful to see. I gave this one 4 stars. I still really enjoyed it. I feel like it didn't have as much of a punch as the first one did, mostly because the first one had the majority of like the healing process for Lola, whereas this one was more just her forming bonds with all the members of the pack, which was still beautiful, and I loved it. And this is also high steam, if you couldn't have guessed already. So there we go. So those are going to be all of the books that I read for the first half of January. Let me know down below what books you've started out the year with. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button if you like this video, and also make sure you hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos from me. I look forward to having you all here. So enough of that. That being said, I'm gonna get out of here, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Bye guys.